Hey everybody,
Hey everyone,
welcome back. I'm Martin
and
McCain,
my name's Artina McCain.
and we're the McCain duo, and we are looking forward to our interview with Armand Hall and Leah McGray. And they are a husband and wife conducting duo. They are awesome, and we were able to meet them during their time in Memphis, Tennessee, and now they're currently in New York, where Leah is the director of instrumental activities at SUNY Geneseo, and Armin, in addition to his conducting career, is also the executive director for the Rock Music Collective. And so we hope you enjoy. Hey everybody.
Hey, so we have Dr. Leah McGray and Dr. Armand Hall here with
Yes.
us. Yay!
Hello.
Yes, they're an awesome husband and wife conducting duo, which is amazing. So we actually have another husband and wife duo that we're interviewing. So we're really excited. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So we just want to get started with everything. Can you tell us, how did you guys meet?
Yeah.
We met at a conducting symposium.
Not
So
just any conducting symposium.
we
Oh, please
were
share.
both attending the Northwestern University Summer Conducting Symposium, and had some mutual friends. And once we got down to Evanston, well, I say down to Evanston. I was coming from Canada.
Okay.
I went over, but it's
But we got to the symposium, and like a lot of those institutions and programs, you find your people pretty quickly. You find people that you get along with and you share the same viewpoints with, and we met and we became really good friends from that day on.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Armand agrees. I'm like, do you want to
yeah,
add
no,
anything?
you hit it on the head. There's the expanding story that a lot of times you go to these symposiums not just to increase your skill, but to find possibly where is your next level of study and where do you want to sort of direct your career path. And so both of us were actually very interested in going into the school there to study with Dr. Mallory Thompson, who's a phenomenal conductor and pedagogue. And so to work with her and the students at Northwestern would have been great.
Would have been
Wow.
great, yes. But you're here today. Do you want to explain?
Northwestern.
Okay.
I did attend Northwestern. Yeah.
So, and that brings us to a part of your musical journey, which we
Yeah.
like to ask everyone. And of course, you guys is intersected in a way that you're now married and you work together. And I got the chance to work with both of you pre-coronavirus, which was awesome.
Yes.
And a performance in Rochester, New York. But how about you? Well, we'll go with Leah first. How about you tell us about your journey to your position today?
I feel like it was a really roundabout way. When I was growing up, I grew up in Eastern Canada, Nova Scotia, which is a very rural community. There's not a lot of music programs, big programs. The high school I went to did not have a music program after grade 9. So most of my study was done through private lessons. My parents worked really hard to make sure my brother and I had those opportunities to learn and develop ourselves. And then I went on and attended music at Acadia University, also in Nova Scotia, Canada. A wonderful liberal arts style education, which I adored Acadia from the time I was 12 years old, and I went there for a summer piano camp. So those summer camps are important for recruiting and just for finding who you are. So I went and I did my Bachelor of Music and a Bachelor of Education, which were the two separate degrees as mandated by our province at that time. And I went and I taught. I didn't know I could be a conductor as a career path. All of the conductors that I saw at my institutions at Acadia and at the other smaller institutions around me, they were also teachers. They were studio teachers who conducted the band, or they were school teachers who taught in high school or music, other music programs that, had primarily a teaching job, but then also came and went to do some sort of conducting thing. So I didn't realize I could be a conductor as my primary title for a long time. And I taught public school. I taught everything from kindergarten right up through to high school AP music, strings, band, and choir, those poor students.
Wow.
Some of them still talk to me. That's a good sign. And I was invited back to a symposium by Dr. Mark Hopkins, who had taken over at Acadia University many years after I graduated. And he invited me to a symposium and said, I think you might be interested in this. And I was. And I said, oh, this is what I have to do. So I kind of finished what I was doing with the public schools and applied for grad school and got into the University of Toronto to study with Leah McGray, and then went from there to Northwestern to study with Mallory Thompson.
Awesome.
That is awesome. So was piano your primary instrument?
No. Clarinet was my primary instrument, and I kept up with my piano lessons for a while in university, but clarinet was really my true love, and I did a violin minor as well.
Oh, wow.
Wow. All these secret gifts our friends have that just keep dropping during the interview.
Well, it was really helpful when all of a sudden you're looking at conducting an orchestra. You at least, even if you're not good at it, you understand what bowings do and how to act in a section. And even if you weren't the best section member yourself.
That's awesome. What about you, Armand?
Not necessarily as circuitous, but music was always a part of my life. My parents made sure that we, had the skill of learning how to play instruments. So growing up in Detroit, we didn't really have a band in my school until I got to high school, but we had choir. So I sang in the choir and I played at the cello for many years in this 8-person orchestra we had in our school once a week. And I started playing clarinet in the 7th grade. And then I got to high school and I went to Cass Tech in Detroit, which has this, expansive history of having great music programs. And I can still remember the first day when I walked into the concert band and we played, and I had never heard a sound like this amazing 80-piece band. And it just really lifted me up. But it wasn't my career passion. Ever since the 3rd grade, I had wanted to be an astrophysicist.
Wow.
And so I was going to school to study physics.
I don't even know how to spell that.
That's completely different.
I was just soaking up everything. And so I went to the University of Michigan to study physics.
Wow.
But I was, still playing my instrument, and it had always been easy for me to do because my parents made sure we had access to it. And in the high school program, so I played, the jazz bands, played saxophone, and played clarinet in the other ensembles. And so I joined the marching band at Michigan and joined the concert band as a non-music major just to continue to play. And at some point towards the end of my freshman year, I was like, maybe this music is more than just a hobby. So I got on my high horse that I was going to go and audition for the University of Michigan School of Music.
Wow.
Whoa.
Which is only a testament to what I didn't know what I was doing at all. Because I was nowhere near prepared for that. But I started taking lessons as a non-major and worked up, and I was able to successfully audition and started doing a music ed degree. But it was really just so that I could, explore playing this clarinet and trying to reach a higher level. And was so fortunate to be at a place like the University of Michigan that had such great people around me. I was buoyed and dragged along by these amazing people who had these skills. So it always makes me very interested in what we're doing to help our youth prepare for that option. Because I tripped and fell my way into this career essentially. And I think about that now and I still get scared. I'm like, oh my God, how did I think I was going to do that? How did that happen? So I know that people were there to help me through that.
Wow.
But that ensemble thing was still grabbing hold to me, and playing in these better and better ensembles, just the idea of what an ensemble can be and playing in chamber music. And so I got interested in conducting, and my best friend, he had taken over a youth ensemble in Flint, Michigan, and he allowed me to come up and be his assistant conductor. So I started doing that, and it just sort of rolled in that way. And so I went and taught public school outside of Detroit and did the middle school band and high school band and marching band, and started going to conducting symposiums, trying to work on that skill. How can I be better at that? And ended up getting my doctorate at Michigan State in conducting, and that's how I ended up at Memphis to work with the wonderful Artina McCain.
I'm sure the story goes past me.
Oh yeah, because now I'm in New York, so you know.
Right. Well, you guys have both dropped little great nuggets.
Yeah.
I've got a question, and both or either of you can answer it. Well, Armand, you were saying you started astrophysicist and then you went to music. I mean, how was that for your parents? I'm sure there are listeners whose parents are, yes, you can do music, and others are like, don't do that. That doesn't pay. Especially going from a field in science, which we know is so valued kind of in our society. What can you guys say about music as a career? And you have kids. We can kind of hear them in the background. So you're doing very well for yourself from going from maybe a STEM choice to music. What was that like for you?
I think making that switch, I was just very fortunate that for as long as I can remember, it wasn't about what we wanted to be. My parents impressed upon us that when we decided, what we wanted to do, that we needed to be our best at it, whatever our best was. So it's okay, you're going to make this change. So what are you going to do to be successful? And as long as you're trying to be successful and we can support that, I didn't have any other pressures, thankfully, because that could be a very difficult situation. And I've talked to a lot of students that are trying to struggle with that. And so I wasn't forced to say, am I going to make money in this career? It was just, is this what you want to do? Okay, well, how are you going to make it happen?
Gotcha.
Right.
And how about you, Leah? Was that a similar experience, or it seems like your parents were also very supportive?
They were, and education was a huge priority in my family. My grandfather on my mother's side, he didn't finish past grade 8. He had to go immediately and start working in the lumber yards and in the cutting the wood. And my other grandfather on my father's side, he postponed a lot of his education until after World War II. So when he came back, it was a huge priority for him. And both of the sides of my family just said, do what you need to do, study and study hard and work. It was really special, actually, at my Bachelor of Music degree, the ceremony that I graduated. It was actually the ceremony that my grandfather was awarded an honorary doctorate from McCain.
Oh,
So we actually were on the stage together, and after I received my diploma, then I went over and gave him a hug on stage.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
That is a cool story.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So both of you guys have mentioned, and also how you met, going to symposiums, workshops, camps. That's a very important part of, especially in our field. I mean, can you just talk about that and like just the importance of going to these type of workshops and what participants can gain from them?
Well, they can get a spouse.
I promise you that was not the goal. And had it been for either of us, we probably wouldn't be here right now. Right?
It's a bonus.
But I will just say that I think for me in my life and in my career path, it has been important for me to be around people who have more of a larger worldview and further along in their skill development so that it can continue to shine where I need to go. And that sort of old adage, you need to surround yourself with the best people you can find. And when you go to these symposiums and these places designed for some sort of development and betterment, you usually find people of a like mind, usually. And so, you can go and you can create these networks that will be important as your career continues to grow. And who has more information than you, because we don't have all the answers by ourselves. So constantly getting better.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add too that first of all, I'm a huge advocate of lifelong learning and lifelong participation in music. And I teach at a liberal arts school, so I'm training people to be ensemble musicians and to continue ensemble musicianship, who are going to be doctors and lawyers and nurses and science researchers and the whole gamut of things. And the perspective that they bring is amazing. This perspective that you have as an individual is amazing. So to continue to participate at whatever level that you're comfortable. But when it comes to symposiums, the other big thing for me is the issue of representation. If I had stayed in my own bubble, in my own world, I didn't have the perspective that I needed to be able to reach out and say, yeah, I could do this. I can see myself in this job. And it was going to a workshop with Dr. Paula Holcomb, who's at SUNY Fredonia now. And I thought, wow, I've never seen a female conductor.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time, and this could be me. And that was hugely important for me, as I'm sure it is for a lot of people.
That's big.
Absolutely.
I like how you said representation, and I know, Armand, in your work with rock music, and Leah had an opportunity to see your students. How do you think that plays out with the generation today? And what are you guys doing to make sure they're seeing themselves? Because I feel like conductors have such a huge role in representation, bringing in artists, the repertoire you pick. I mean, you guys are like really have your finger on the dial in a lot of music organizations to really promote representation. Like, what are you guys doing maybe together or even individually that speaks to that?
It's very funny that, COVID-19 has given people more free time, and we're constantly having conversations, even one just as last night in our regular Thursday hang of conductors from across the country. It's like, what is our responsibility and how are we filling the gaps of making sure that representation is showed, and diversity, and what is diversity, and how do you support it? So this sort of pause of musical activities has allowed this thought process to be happening a lot. But I think both of us sort of take the bulls by the horn and sort of, say that we want to make sure that this is important, and we work together to commission people across very diverse backgrounds so that we can say that we're a part of the creation of music by these people. And then as a conductor, being able to bring in guest artists and support unknown and emerging composers is something that I think that's hugely important. I think Leah agrees as well.
And it's a lot about purposeful programming. You really have to balance, especially in an educational standpoint, you have to balance what should my students know when they leave here versus what do they need to know. So what should they know? They should know Beethoven and Mozart and Tchaikovsky and all of those standards of the older canon. But what should they have? They should also have a composer that relates to their heritage, or that has explored some of the music from their family, or they have worked with a guest artist who is not of their culture and can bring in a different perspective. And we had Roberto Zambrano from El Sistema, who's now down in Dallas, but he's originally from Venezuela and instrumental in building those programs. We brought him to work in master classes and to do some teaching and conducting, and bringing in guest artists who are female, who are local people, who are professional musicians that we can support and elevate and give voice to. And whatever we have a chance that we are in a position of power, it's important that we're very purposeful in who we choose to promote. And so making sure that we have those people and that we're sharing those with our communities.
And I think the audience is somebody that I'm always trying to consider as well. What are we, if you want to take the maestro as the term teacher, we're dealing with our students or our ensemble members, but we're also hopefully broadening perspectives of the audience and making sure that they feel represented on the stage. So when they come, they might see Tchaikovsky, but they might see someone from their community or someone that they could share a story with. And so it's a really, really important. And I think we both spend a lot of time thinking about what are we purposefully planning to perform for audiences in our ensembles.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. We want to, thank you for just touching every point. I mean, I think that's extremely important. And we need more people like you out there.
We do. Can you clone yourselves?
I think you can be, a lot of people from our generation we think like this. Mm-hmm. And so it's just getting to the point in positions of real authority to be able to make it happen. I think that is the transition that is happening now.
Wow.
Armin for president.
Yeah.
I got to do that background check.
So our next question, especially both of you guys are educators, like what advice could you give to the next generation?
Ooh, it's loaded.
I have two things that I always tell my students, and when I work with an honor band, I always want to make sure they hear it. The first is, don't roll your eyes. I know you hear me say this a lot. The first is a Native Canadian saying, and I know.
I didn't know that.
I'm like, ooh.
and it's translated to mean that when you find that you're on the wrong path, turn around immediately. Don't stick with something because you have invested money, or you're 3/4 of the way through the degree, or whatever it is, or you think that you need to, do this so that you make a job, have a job that has a steady income. Find something that some way that you can step back and say, how do I pivot? And we've done that. We're doing that right now. We're pivoting in COVID and making things work. But find a way you can innovate yourself and use your skills and abilities and your interests to really work for who you are. And the second thing, which I'm finding really applicable now, looking especially at my senior class that graduated and were unable to finish their recitals and were unable to finish their classwork and not able to have that final concert. It's live every day as if it's your last battle on earth. And that's from Carlos Castaneda, the Tales of Power. You don't know when it's your last concert. And it doesn't have to be something, dire that necessarily that causes that. It can be a whole range of influences. But, we didn't know that our concert with you was going to be our last orchestra concert.
I know, right? Yeah.
And what an amazing experience it was to have that and to have those pictures to look back on and those recordings to hear. And, but, don't wait. Don't hold something back, waiting for the end of the semester or waiting for a certain mile marker before you do something. If you want it, do it and throw yourself into it.
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
Wholeheartedly agree. I think, when I hear her tell the story about the, turn around and go back, essentially that's what I felt I did at Michigan. When I decided to switch from this physics degree, which had just been leading me on that path ever since. I mean, I was actually a naval recruit officer in that physics degree. So, I was going to go do all of that and then just pivoted to music because it just rose up in me that this was more important for me.
Wow.
I use that story to talk with students all the time. It's just important to do what you think is best because you don't know all the answers, but when you feel passionate about something, certainly go for it. I also try to impress upon anyone I can that the learning cannot stop. Because I just fear what happens when the learning stops.
Oh yeah.
What else is there to, if you're like, these milestones that these students are missing out on, it's sort of, I don't try not to be flippant, but those things in the grand scheme of things maybe don't really matter as much as we feel that they matter now. And I'm not trying to take that away from anyone, but that high school graduation was just the unlocking of the door to take your next adventure, And so it's always about the adventure of learning and who can I meet and what I can learn to hopefully be better than I was the day before.
Oh,
Absolutely.
totally agree.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're all overeducated, doctor this, but I feel like, my learning really started after I finished that last degree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the day after was when things really started, I was able to think freely and use what I, of course, had taken from teachers and mentors, but to really apply. So amen.
Yeah.
I would tell the students at Memphis, they're struggling in their lessons and trying to play these pieces. And it's like, you're really doing that so that you can get to that point, hopefully, that you just explained, Artina, where you have accumulated enough skill that now you can choose where to go.
Exactly.
And what to learn. And all of that skill will help you. You'll be able to manipulate it and create whatever your next path is by using all of those skills. So they're deeply important that you learn them to the best of your ability because you're going to need them.
Exactly. Yeah. I love talking to them.
Oh no.
I'm just like
It's very inspiring.
So our last question, what do you guys do for fun? I mean, I hear your kids back there, they sound like they're having a blast. What do you guys yeah. What are some of your hobbies as a family or individually?
I've always done a lot of gardening. So it's been really nice to have a little bit of time at home with some nicer weather. At least this didn't happen in the middle of the winter. So I've been spending a lot of time gardening. There's, I'm like, oh, look, there's this little strip of grass. Let's rip it up. and having some fun with that.
Nice. I planted my first plant ever, Leah. Just
Yay!
ever.
It's addictive.
Well, down there in Memphis, your growing season is ridiculous.
Well, I'm learning. I mean, yeah.
That's awesome.
How about you, Armand?
I run.
You run? Oh yeah, he does.
Like I woke up to Instagram and saw that you were running. I'm like, oh, I feel bad. It's like I need to get out.
Don't. And the only reason I put them up is because this Facebook reminder things. It's like, a year ago you ran 4 miles. Why did you only run 2 today? Like, oh man, I keep going. You know, it's just, I do a lot of planning, and I finally gotten to the point in my life where I don't need music or something else to run. One, it's safer to run without headphones on, but two, like, I'm just thinking about, you know, planning the day, visualizing, you know, the next project, how it can be better, whatever we need to do. And so I find that time, even if it's only a half an hour run, like, is really great for me. That's why I do it in the morning. You know, I'm trying to purposefully get more into reading again, not reading for, you know, for study specific, we're just reading things that I feel like I've missed out on or would enjoy rereading again. Because our upbringing, we have very different reading tracks when we talk about the books that we read at school, like nowhere near the same. So, you know, there's just a lot of things that I'm hoping to get to read. I'm trying to dive into James Baldwin. I feel like an author that I should know, but I was never exposed to him in any of my high school reading or collegiate reading. And I'm finding it very tough because I feel, and simultaneously he's telling a story, but he's also speaking directly to me and sort of giving me a task. You know, as a Black person in the United States, I feel like I'm being tasked with what am I doing to help and, you know, and improve the situation. So the reading is going slow, but I'm finding it very cathartic.
What are you reading by Baldwin?
Oh, right now I'm reading The Fire Next Time. And I'll tell you,
Right there.
It's right here. Because, you know, trying to find those waking moments, not saying, oh, I have an hour, let's read. Because with our 2 boys, we don't have an hour. So it's like, you know, how can I read? But you should check it out. The first 11 pages is a letter that he wrote to his nephew on celebrating a birthday, talking about how he viewed the state of our country and where we needed to go and what the responsibility for that young man was and his hopes. It was like, wow.
Wow.
Very powerful. So, I mean, anyone with children or who works with youth, like reading that is I found very heavy.
It's deep thinking. Uh-oh. Are we going to get to meet the children? I mean, that would be like the best.
You want this to go downhill.
No.
I see it. Edward, Benjamin, come here.
Oh, look at this, viewers. Music family. Oh, they get to meet the children. This is real life these days. Hey!
Oh, this is Benjamin.
Look at how cute they are.
Yes, please.
Oh, somebody's being shy.
Oh, don't be shy.
His birthday today.
His birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
We have balloons? Good.
So tell them where they can find you.
Oh, so you can find us, if you can hear me, you can find us on social media. We're both on Facebook and Instagram. I work for the Rock Music Collaborative here in Rochester, so we have a website. It's www.rocmusic.org, and Leah works for SUNY Geneseo. And so there's, they've got the Facebook and faculty pages there.
We have a Facebook page for the SUNY Geneseo instrumental music, orchestra and wind ensemble. And we try to post up when we do live videos or recordings. You can't get out.
I love this. Happy birthday, Edward!
Happy birthday.
Even though you're being shy.
Right, he's 6 soon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for taking your time to meet with us.
No, it's great to speak with you guys. It's good to see you again.
You too.
Hi, Benjamin. You want to say hi and bye to our audience?
Say hi.
Hi.
Goodbye.
This has been great. Thank you guys so much.
All right.